Good evening, everyone. We are thrilled to be partnering again with Panda, Perinatal Anxiety and Depression Australia, for the third year in a row. Panda's vision is a society where perinatal mental health is valued and understood, and where the stigma and systematic barriers to seeking help no longer exist. Their wide range of information, services, and programs support parents and families during pregnancy and in the first 12 months of a new baby. Everyone's experience of pregnancy, birth, and parenting is so unique and brings so many rewards and challenges. Panda understands this and works with all of their national helpline callers uniquely and as individuals. One of the many reasons we partner with Panda is to help reduce the stigma surrounding mental health, especially during the perinatal period. So tonight, we've invited Julie, Madeline, and Rachel from Panda to talk openly about perinatal mental health. So welcome, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So, Julie, I guess we'll start with you. So, for new and expectant parents viewing tonight, can you tell us a bit about what you and the team at Panda do?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Josie. And to everybody that is watching tonight, good on you for taking the time to find out more about the ups and downs of parenting. So, Panda is an amazing organisation. We've been around for 38 years and we've been born out of the lived experience of two women that really felt that what they were going through was not something that they needed to cope with alone. They were connected up, and Panda has grown and grown in response to that. As an organisation, we provide our national helpline, which is a free service to callers for anyone who is experiencing distress or feeling that their well-being mentally is not where it needs to be, either through their pregnancy period or the first 12 months of baby's life. And we support mums and dads during this period, and grandparents too, which is really cool. We also support and educate health professionals across the country to better understand how to help those who are coming to them for a range of issues and may not be ready to talk about mental vulnerability. And we love to do work that increases the community's understanding of what mental vulnerability or mental health needs to look like during this period, so that they, as a community, they can be supporting each other.
Julie, it's clear to us that the core purpose truly defines that help is available and accessible. So, what is perinatal mental illness?
Mm. So, I guess first and foremost, perinatal mental illness or vulnerability, if it's not at sort of the more pointy end of the spectrum of need, is different for everybody. So, it's really hard to say it looks just one way. Generally, people will experience an initial vulnerability that becomes worse and worse for them over time. But for some people, it comes on really unexpectedly. We know that when we talk about depression and anxiety, they can occur separately, but they can also occur together. And that depression and anxiety in this time can really impact on the individual's mood, on their behaviours, and on their relationships more broadly. So when we're talking about perinatal mental illness during this period, it's that feeling that people have in their gut. It's that feeling that, others may be watching, where they're saying, this isn't normal, that this person is really focusing in on or not able to engage with their role as a new parent. We know that people who are feeling depressed may withdraw from those that they love and the activities they may have been undertaking, which also happens as a part of being a new parent. So that's a bit tricky sometimes to untangle. We know that it can disrupt people's thinking so that they're focusing in on worries or concerns, and they become so big in their world that they can't see past those. And it also means that people may be less inclined to take care of themselves in the way that they would normally. So, not eating as well, or perhaps overeating, undertaking risk taking behaviours, which may be as a result of drinking more or less. And not sleeping or being able to sleep when their baby's sleeping because they've got racing thoughts. So it can manifest in a whole number of ways. And for some, it's just starting out when they're calling us as a helpline, or it's more complex and it's been there for a while for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Julie, so these sort of symptoms, and when it is perinatal anxiety and depression, and not just the usual, transition period
Mm.
that perhaps they're having some challenges in. How prevalent is this in new and expectant parents?
Yep. So that we know that nationally, the data indicates that approximately 1 in 5 mums or 1 in 10 dads or non-birth parents will experience anxiety and depression during this period. So it's really common. We also know that the rates of adjustment to parenting and people's vulnerability as a result of that being disrupted throughout COVID and all of the things that we've been through over the last couple of years have meant that the distress that people are experiencing has probably increased beyond the 1 in 5. And we know that our rates of callers to our national helpline have increased and remain at about 42% increase to those that we had prior to COVID.
Wow, God, such
Mm,
challenging times.
yeah.
So, Julie, you mentioned how it affects new parents, and a lot of people will associate that this occurs in new mums, but you also
Mm.
touched on how it impacts dads and non birth parents. So, what support is there out there for dads?
So it's really important that we have conversations about dads being affected as well. And at Panda, we still have a smaller number of fathers that are reaching out for support, but increasingly we're seeing that dads are reaching out to the helpline for their own mental health and well-being rather than inquiring about their partner's mental health and well-being, which is just so encouraging. Um, the helpline like Pandas is a really valuable one, and the tools and resources on our website, because nobody needs to know for dads that they're reaching out for support. There are also a number of really great supports that are out there, such as our SMS for Dads partnership. And if you visit SMS for Dads, you can register and get updates on, how you're going, and also undertake assessments that keep a track of, your mood and well-being. But ultimately, we know that men's mental health and well-being, or non-birth parents' mental health and well-being, can be disrupted in many of the same way that mums can be. But often those feelings of frustration and helplessness can result in more agitation and more risk-taking behaviours when we're talking about a dad's mental health and well-being during this period. But it's really important that they feel able to reach out and connect with supports during this time, or have a conversation openly with their mates.
Absolutely, yeah. And I just think it's really wonderful to know that there is so much support for
Mm.
dads and for non-birth parents, as well as mothers. So I think now is a really good time for us to introduce Rachel. So welcome, Rachel. And can you tell us a little bit about your role as a community champion for Panda?
Yeah, so I started volunteering for Panda once I recovered from postnatal depression and anxiety. I felt like I wanted to give back to the people that had helped me recover. So now my role is raising awareness, and that might be in the car park at daycare, talking to a new parent, or doing larger scale awareness raising. I also do some fundraising where we can to make sure that we're providing Panda some great funds to continue doing the great work that they do.
Amazing. So when did you know that you were suffering from a little bit more than just the baby blues?
Yeah, look, I had a great pregnancy, a wonderful birth, and pretty quickly those what I thought was the baby blues hit. It was pretty quickly, but we know parenting isn't easy, so it was push through, keep smiling, the joy will come. And it took a little while for me to really realize that something wasn't right. But my family and friends were noticing some changes in my behavior. They were noticing that I was a lot more anxious than normal. I wasn't trusting my mum instincts that were there, but I couldn't hear them and I couldn't see them. So some little basic things that I really did know I should be doing, I just wasn't seeing. So it took me some time. And then after a really bad night, my son wasn't feeding and he wasn't sleeping. So it was the perfect storm of sleep deprivation and mental illness. And I called Panda one day and got some really great advice. It was a beautifully empathetic and understanding conversation, exactly what I needed that day. And from there, I then reached out and got some further help through my GP and some different supports locally, and started that recovery journey.
It's the perfect success story, really, and and I think it's so courageous that you're coming on board tonight to tell all of our viewers and just give that glimpse of hope that in challenging times there is light at the end of the tunnel, and if you reach out for help, you'll recover quicker. So there's help there. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
So we are lucky enough to have Madeline with us. So Madeline is actually one of Panda's helpline counsellors. So, Madeline, what is it like for someone who is suffering and needs support for their mental health? What's it like when they call the Panda helpline?
Thanks, Josie. It is a delight to be here with you and to share the kind of work that we do as counsellors on the helpline. And it was also really heartening to hear Rachel say that her first contact with Panda and speaking to one of our counsellors was such a positive experience, and she experienced such empathy and gained some confidence about where she could access support going forward. So that's so wonderful to hear. So what it's like to call into the helpline? Well, we recognise that can be very confronting to call a mental health helpline. For many of our callers, it's the first time they've ever called a helpline. It's the first time they've ever spoken openly about experiencing any kind of mental health symptoms to anyone. So we understand how confronting, how overwhelming, how scary that can be. So the voice that you hear when you first call Panda is from someone who has experience in the perinatal mental health field, either as a nurse, a social worker, a psychologist, a midwife. So we have a broad range of experience on the team. And we recognise, obviously, how hard it is to reach out for support. And you can expect to hear someone who will really take their time with you. Doesn't expect you to be able to articulate perfectly clearly how you're feeling. So our counselling calls, there's not a strict time limit. You don't have to feel like you need to say everything in 15 minutes and then it's over. We'll really help you unpack what's going on for you.
Madeline, I think that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that and giving a little bit of an insight to exactly what it is like when our customers, if they were to call the Panda helpline.
Mm-hmm.
So, Julie, earlier we heard you highlight that Panda is a non-for-profit organisation. So, funding to keep you guys going with all the amazing work that you're doing is obviously so important. So, we have seen lots of support come from our Baby Bunting fundraiser in previous years. Can you tell us a little bit about how donations would help?
Most definitely. So, we are so thankful for not only the relationship we have with Baby Bunting and ensuring that you and your teams on the ground are able to support people in store, but also for the fundraising that's generated. And, you're completely right. Panda is a not-for-profit. We run on the smell of an oily rag. All of the money that we receive from the government funders, but also from our partners such as Baby Bunting, goes into information for the community, and ultimately they're who we're most accountable to. So partnerships like this and Baby Bunting support have allowed us to translate resources into 40 languages to ensure that we're building a dialogue and really usable tools that people can take into their communities to support having that conversation. And as Rachel said, whether it's having a conversation in the car park around a mum's group, or whether it's Madeline working on the helpline, we need resources that we're able to then provide out to community, because often people are stuck in the moment and need time away from the support that we provide to be able to reflect on what that conversation with our helpline felt like, or how to have the next step of the conversation with a GP. So resources are so fundamentally important, and they're often not covered through our government funding. We also are able to do amazing work through social media and, our way of engaging with community to normalise experience and identify triggers and stresses that are normal for people in this time are really pushed through our social media because that's where we have the most engagement. So we couldn't do this work without Baby Bunting, but also without the generosity of those who are going into a Baby Bunting store either virtually or locally, and donating to us.
Yeah, absolutely. So something that is really exciting is, so we have partnered with Panda. This is the third year in a row. And on right now, we are in the middle of our fundraiser. So since Friday, the 1st of April until Sunday, the 29th of May, we're going to be asking our team and our customers to help us continue to raise awareness and funds for Panda by asking for a $2, $5 or $10 donation when our customers shop with us in store and online. And 100% of everything raised will go directly to Panda and the amazing work that you guys do. So, to all our viewers out there tonight, with your support, Panda can continue to support women, men, and families across Australia affected by anxiety and depression in the first year of parenthood. So, Julie, before we finish up tonight, is there anything that you wanted to share with our viewers on the great work of Panda?
No, other than saying, thank you for sharing the message and helping each other talk about vulnerability at this time, but also for reminding people that we get no greater time in the life of people as they're becoming new parents or raising new bubs to be future parents to influence, the health and well-being of our community. So, thank you for being so focused in on not only your own experience as a parent, but how to support other parents across the country during this time.
Yeah, well said, Julie. So, if you or anyone that you know would like to learn a bit more about Panda and the work they do, you can visit their website at panda.org.au, or of course, you can reach their free national helpline. You can call them on 1300 726 306. And we'll also pop the phone number in the comment section below. So, thank you so much, Julie, Rachel, and Madeline, for chatting with us tonight. Good night, everyone, and thanks for watching.
Thanks, Josie.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, Josie. Thanks, Rachel.